friends Andy over at Today's CBD Oil and Wellness. Today's CBD and Wellness. So sorry. Hey, you know what? The time change got the best of me somehow. Anyway, just know I really did come on at 5:30, but because of the time change, I had it listed at 6:30 and completely I messed up. So sorry about that, but I still want to talk to you, and hopefully those of you that were going to attend the last one will be joining me shortly, I hope. But hey, Valerie, nice to see you, and hopefully, all those that had either experts that they knew, because I got private messages from people that said that they knew people and all kinds of stuff. So I apologize for dropping the ball. The stinking time change. I hate that time change. And it got the best of me today because I scheduled it yesterday when the time was correct. And now, of course, today. So now I'm late. All right. So what I want to talk about is my situation with prostate cancer. And suddenly something came up, and now I have all these questions. Now I've just had a second opinion, and I'm going to get a third opinion. I think it's tomorrow. So I'll be getting a second opinion from another medical doctor, an oncologist. The last one was with a urologist. Urologist, how you say that? Is that how you say that? I hope so. Your text. Okay, I will look at your text. I don't have my phone. I don't even know where my phone is. I will find my phone and I will check out your text, Valerie. Thanks for letting me know that you sent me one. All right. So I'm going to go through a few things here, just kind of set up the story. That way you know where I'm at. And then I'll let you know, I'll kind of fill in what my questions are and why I'm in this kind of quandary about what it is I'm going to do. And why I have concerns about, some of the decisions I may have to make. So let's first talk about, when this all started. So I first began to get concerned in regard to my prostate cancer, of course, when I had my PSA, which is a blood test you have, and they have I'm not sure what PSA stands for, prostate something, whatever, I don't know. But whatever PSA stands for, those levels were rising. When your PSA rises, of course, there's more likelihood, I guess, that you have a cancer that needs to be looked at, and you need to have biopsies, and then decisions are made based on what they find in the biopsies and whatnot. So your PSAs will begin to elevate. You'll begin to go through this biopsy process, and even MRIs, which I've had them all. And then you make a determination as to what needs to be done. If it's what the word is that prostate cancer is very slow in its growth, and that most people that have prostate cancer will die of something else and not the prostate cancer itself. However, you can have a fast-growing one, and at least with all perceptions up to this point, it was considered a slow progressing cancer of the prostate. All right, and so I first got my first biopsies when it was at a level 8. Hey, Julie, nice to see you. Sorry about the time change, but the time change got me. So. And so that's when it kind of all started, is when I got my first biopsy. Now, when I got my first biopsy, after that, I left the hospital. I then had a speaking engagement in San Diego. I spoke on stage like a day after the biopsy. And then the following day after that speech, which was 2 days later, I was not feeling too well. And I had tightness in my stomach and all that kind of stuff. So I go to the restroom, and then just this blood comes flowing out of me like crazy, just like a fire hose of blood, and it wouldn't stop. I just kept going and going and going. And so then I drove myself, stupidly enough, because I didn't feel like I needed to tell anybody. I just say, I'm not feeling well. I gotta go somewhere. And I told one of my really good friends, Everett O'Keefe, that, you know what, I'm not feeling good. I think I'm gonna go to Kaiser. And he goes, oh, okay. Like, he kind of looked at me like, well, do you need a ride? I go, nah, I got it. I'm okay. But I started to get kind of dizzy halfway there. I found the San Diego Kaiser, which never gets sick, and never go to the San Diego Kaiser. It is the worst Kaiser on the planet. I'm just letting you know. I nearly died there. They left me alone in a room for several hours. I was still bleeding. They were kind of, downplaying, the blood thing. It's not that big of a deal. But I'm telling you, I was a cop for 21 years. I've seen many bloody crime scenes. I was having more blood come out of me than most of those crime scenes that I've been to, and was not getting very good attention. And then they took me up into ICU, I think it was. And that's where they left me alone for several hours. And I was laying on the floor, bleeding, and nobody knew it. Thank God my assistant, who lives in Idaho, hadn't heard from me for a while. And so she called Kaiser and says, hey, can you check on my boss? I haven't heard from him in a while. And that's the only reason they came and checked on me and found me lying in a pool of blood on the floor. And rushed me, to a higher level place in the hospital. And a nurse whispered into my ear, I am so sorry this happened to you. This never should have happened to you. You're going to be okay. And she was very concerned of what happened. So anyway, I had made a couple, I had messaged a couple people. I got a hold of somebody that knew, like, the administrator for the hospital or something like that. I'm not sure what all happened. And suddenly I had all the best help in the world. Suddenly I had the best doctor in the place. Suddenly I had the best nurses in the place. And because I had connected with the right people who knew somebody, and then they got me and so I had to stay in the hospital twice for 2 days. Sorry. As I was getting repaired. All right. So this leads me to the second biopsy. So a year and a half later, or something like that, maybe 2 years later, I have to go in for another biopsy. And I'm telling her, I said, listen, I'm kind of worried because the last time you nearly killed me, this doctor, I went to the same doctor. I know I probably should have went to a different doctor, but you know how Kaiser is. And so I went to my second doctor and for my second biopsy, and I warned him. And I said, do you remember what happened last time? I ended up in the emergency room. But that wasn't related to that biopsy. It was completely unrelated. And I said, are you sure? And he said, 100% sure. You have nothing to worry about. It never happens. If not, rarely happens. And it is unlikely that it would happen a second time. So guess what? I had the biopsy. And this time I just barely drove away from the hospital and got to the yard house where I was having lunch following my biopsy. And already I was feeling that very same tightness. I go to the restroom and out comes the blood like crazy. I end up in the emergency room, and this time it's worse. And so there I am in the emergency room. I constantly have to be going into constantly have to go to the bathroom. And so when I finally got into my room in the emergency room, I said, I'm not feeling too good. I need to go to the restroom. And they said, oh yeah, it's just right down the hall. And I had, and they go, we'll get somebody to help you. Well, nobody was coming. And I thought I needed help because they told me not to get out of bed myself, but it was like a long time. And I told them I had to go really bad. And I kept waiting. I kept flagging people down. Oh, we'll get somebody for you. We'll get somebody. Nobody was coming. And so I said, screw this. I'm going to take myself to the restroom. And I took the little thing that I had and I walk over to the restroom. I sit down and I black out. The blood starts coming out. I black out. I hit the ground, hit my face on the ground, and I'm out in the restroom in my own blood again, a second time. And of course, I locked the door because it's a restroom. Apparently, they couldn't get in because nobody knew where the key was to get into the emergency room restroom, which you would think they'd have a key, right? You'd think they would have a way of getting in there. And they didn't. A strange thing happened. A friend of mine by the name of Andy, strangely enough, the same last name as mine, he had this weird feeling at home in Anaheim. And here I am in the South Orange County, Kaiser Permanente. I had my friend Andy, for whatever reason, he wasn't sure why he was getting this feeling, but he had this feeling that he needed to find me. And somehow he had narrowed it down where I was because, again, we were chatting a little bit on Facebook Messenger and some other stuff. Yes, Rhett asked one of the other kids to get it. Okay, my son, you only decide to do this when I'm on live, right? Go and get somebody to help you with that. And so he ends up being down there. Now they see he asks where I'm at. They say that I'm in the emergency room. They let him into the emergency room. They see these there's like 4 or 5 nurses and what do they call those? The guys that lift people out of bed, whoever those guys are, and a doctor going, well, how come we can't get in? And they can't get in and so they have to get a tool to pry the door open to get me out. And he's standing there. He goes, dude, you wouldn't believe that they could not get into that restroom. And they knew you were in there. And when they opened that door and I saw all the blood, he goes, I thought you were dead. I thought they had killed you and you had died in the emergency room. It was crazy. So they pulled me out of the room. And anyway, eventually they began to work on me and they saved me. And I become anemic again. I was anemic the first time. I became anemic again. I was in the hospital another 3 days. Again, just because of a biopsy. All right. So that's the second biopsy. I'm getting great stuff here. Oh my goodness. What the heck? I know. You have no idea. Oh, is my mic? Can you hear me? My mic is way over here. I am so sorry. Does that sound better? I started late. My mic's way over on the other side of the room. I am so sorry. I hope that everybody can now turn down their volume. Hopefully I didn't blow up your ears when I moved the mic closer to my mouth. It's so crazy. Oh my gosh. Yes, it's crazy. Hey, William, nice to see you. Steve Hunt, nice to see you. All right. So as I said before, I had, where did it go? I had 3 biopsies. So that's that one. So another year later, my PSAs go up again. Oh, first, let me tell you the results. The first biopsy came back with a very minor legals. We took, whatever it was, 14 tissue samples of my prostate on that first one. And on one of the tissues, they found a very small amount of cancer. All right. That was what he told me. He goes, so that's why, we're just going to monitor it. It's so minute that it's going to be nothing. We'll just keep an eye on it and monitor it. Not, it's no big deal. I mean, it's so little that it'd be dumb to do a surgery, do anything because it's just not worth it. It's so small, such a minute amount. Don't worry about it. The second one showed I had no cancer. All right. The second one showed I had no cancer. But he had also, in the process of almost killing me, he also had a couple things happen where he thought he had samples, but they didn't have samples. So they didn't take nearly as many samples. He goes, this has never happened to me before, but I only got half the samples that I normally get. And for whatever reason, the other sample, whatever, was empty. And he goes, I don't know what happened. And he goes, and also it says you don't have any cancer at all. And I go, oh, hey, what the hell? So then they said, well, let's have you do an MRI. So they do an MRI. The story isn't ending yet. So I would never let you do any procedures alone again. Thank you. I didn't the third one either. And the MRI almost didn't do alone, except for I felt pretty strongly I would survive the MRI. So I got the MRI, and the MRI comes back negative for cancer. All right. So up to this point, I've had 2 biopsies. One of them said I had cancer. The other one said I didn't, but they also messed it up. And the third one, the MRI said no cancer. And so now my PSAs go up again, and they said, let's do another biopsy. I said, I ain't going to that. I fired that other doctor. I should tell you his name, but I'm not going to. I just don't know that I can or should. So I said, you should have another biopsy. Because the other one came back negative, but yet it didn't go well, and we need to find out how much you have. And I said, I'm not doing that same one, and I'm not having the same doctor. There's got to be another way. And so I guess I know there's another way of doing it, but it was more painful, and they take more samples, and the recovery is more difficult. And I said, well, as long as I won't bleed, it's impossible. And this is a different doctor, right? It's an older guy who looks like he's been around for a very long time. As a matter of fact, I think he's retired now because this was like a year and a half ago. And it's called a perineal, I think, or perineum, I think, where they go through an area between your stuff and your other area. It's like right there, and they have to go through. They stick a needle inside you, and they go that way. So there's no chance of having what happened with me on those other ones. And so I agreed because I believed in this doctor because he was very smart. He also was the guy who came to see me in the emergency room. And had much better things to say and said, dude, I don't know why this happened to you. And he just seemed like very smart about, that shouldn't have been done the second time and the reasons why. So he was very, very smart. And so I went with this guy. So I had this third biopsy, the perineum or whatever it's called. I don't know if I'm getting the name right, where they go through and they take way more samples. So instead of like 14, they take, 25 or something like that. I forget what the number is, but it's a very high number. And he says that we take more, but it's going to be a little bit more uncomfortable for you healing. And it may take a little bit longer where you'll urinate and blood will come out and all that kind of stuff. And so I did it, and kind of the same results as the first one. He goes, I got everywhere on I got the behind where we normally don't get. I got on top. I got, on the bottom of it. I got everything, all the areas. And only one little bit was found on just a small one of the tissue samples. And that's it. He goes, you have nothing to worry about. You are probably going to die of something else, not this cancer. And so that was the third one. So now just to kind of review, first one said I had a very small amount. Second one said I had none, even though they made some mistakes. MRI said 0. And this third biopsy, which was more extensive, at a higher biopsy, at a higher PSA level, which I think was 8 or 9 at the time, maybe 9.5 or something like that. It was still, he goes, it's so minute that it's almost, he goes, I could almost say that you don't have it. That's how small it is. And this is a very, experienced urologist. And so there's my story. That's where it brings me to today. All right. So bringing me to today, let's see what the comments are here. Perineum. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, and no complications, right? That one happened, but it hurt. It was a painful day getting that perineum biopsy, I can tell you. And it's a very crappy position to be in. And always the nurse that's helping is always very attractive. And I hate that. And, and it's always cold in the room. It's miserable. And I just hated it. And yet, I went through it, and I had just, again, a very small amount. So the other day, I take a blood test. I thought, I'm going to go in and see what my PSA is doing. And little did I know they already had one scheduled and said, of course, you get the phone call. We need to talk. And I call, and they said, the doctor said, and it's the other doctor. It's the doctor that I had that almost killed me twice. He calls me, and I go, "Why are you calling me?" and he goes, "That's okay." He goes, "I understand, but he goes, I want to tell you that your PSA has risen again. It's at 10, and we get really concerned when it's at a 10. And so it's at a 10 right now. I'm sorry for I have my banners. I took all this time to put my banners. So my PSA is at 10, and his recommendation, of course, is to have surgery, right, and remove my prostate. And I said, but doctor, listen, I've had 3 biopsies. One of them says I didn't have cancer. He goes, yes, I remember. He goes, yeah, but we messed that one up. I said, I know. You messed it up in more ways than one. And then the other 2 came back, and the third being the most extensive, all of them said there's very little, almost in your opinion and in the opinion of the other doctor, was that it's so minute that I should not even consider it and not worry about it and not even think about it. Right, that's how small it is. I had an MRI that showed I had none. He goes, well, but he doesn't get those biopsies don't, we could miss it on those things. And so I said, yes, but first, my history with you guys is that you've only almost killed me twice with your surgeries. And then, and then the third time, the more extensive one, which was supposed to give me the top results of whether I have something to be concerned about or not. In the words of the other doctor, is that this is the best one you can have. And it's the one that's going to tell us whether we need to do anything or not. He said, no. And he goes, and now just because it went up 10 and it's continually going up, right? But every time I've gone, it's not anything that you've told me that I should worry about. And now you're telling me I need to worry about it and have some type of surgery. And so that's where I'm at. So I asked I appreciate your phone call, doctor, but I need 2 more opinions. So that's where I got, we went out and had 2 more opinions. And so the other doctor I just saw, who was fantastic, and I can't remember his name, Nope or Lope or something like that, or Loop. I can't remember his name, Dr. Loop. I can't remember. But anyway, he was very nice, and he was perplexed too. He goes, I don't know. He goes, I understand your concern. There's 3 options apparently. There's for Kaiser. And I know there's more options out there in the world, and that's kind of the reasons why I'm doing this. Is there another option that I should be looking at? Even though the cost will come out of my pocket, and I don't even know how expensive this would be. But the 3 options are remove the prostate, which, man, I don't want. And he talked about, having to wear is it a colostomy bag? I don't know what it is, but have a, it's bad, right? And all the complications that could come of it. And I'm, I like my life the way it is, and I don't want certain things to change, right? You know what I'm talking about? I want that all to stay ready to go. And I just really, I don't know. I don't want to do that. The other one, of course, is chemotherapy of some sort, right? There's 2 options of chemotherapy that they have, and one of them is better than the other. And one has more complications than the other. He said you could choose one of those. And so I had those 2 different types of chemotherapy, and I had the option of having having the prostate removed. None of them I want to do if all this is for nothing, right? And so one of my questions is, should I go through another painful perineum biopsy? I mean, would that, and I'm leaning that way, as painful as it was, and as long as it took me to recover, I think that but again, now my confusion is that biopsy maybe not as powerful in understanding whether I have a cancer that's going to kill me or not, right? That's the thing, right? Is it the best one Or is there another type of, not necessarily maybe a biopsy, but some type of, they do the things where they scan your whole body and all those. Is there a way of getting an entire scan, especially of the prostate area, that may be able to tell us without that painful? Is it just that Kaiser doesn't have that technology? You would think they would, but is it that they don't have that technology? And is there other technology that I should be looking at and maybe perhaps have that, or should have another painful biopsy? There's some comments coming up here. Yes, biopsy. Oh, look at that. I got a Twitter one. No, do you want to live? Do I want to live? Oh, do I want to do the biopsy live? No. I don't know if that's your question. No, absolutely certitude after various invasive procedures. That's crazy, man. I know. It is crazy. And so radiation, oops. I already got that one. Hold on. Yeah, radiation. Yeah, radiation too. I don't, it's just, but again, do I go through all those just without, I'm not sure. I don't even think the doctors are sure, what it is. I think, of course, there's other things that could cause your PSA to rise, and they acknowledge that too. There's other things that could cause my PSA to be doing what it's doing that's not necessarily related to a high level of cancer or something that's a fast-growing cancer. Yeah, they things like that. Yeah, and again, I'm not necessarily sold on just going in there and then they take it out and they go, oh, you didn't need this, right? And now I got to go through all this stuff, right? Having the catheter stuck up there, and and you have to leave it in for, I don't know what it is. I think a month. They said it was. I was like, really? No, like I don't want to go through this stuff if that's really what's going to happen. It's just really not. So I have these other ones. So I have surgery. So I have chemotherapy. I'm a single dad, so I don't have anybody necessarily that I can right now that I can kind of bounce this off of. You can usually ask your wife or girlfriend or fiance or whatever and say, what do you think? What are your thoughts? What do you think I should do? And just kind of have this conversation. You are my spouse right now. You are the people that I go to sometimes to get some answers, and hope to maybe maybe you have some other type of exam or something that you've heard of. Like I said, that body scan, there's one in Orange County that just went in. I'm thinking that maybe I should go find out about that. And I think the first couple are free or something like that, or like $99 or something like that. PET scan involves radioactive. Yeah, so I'm going through this third opinion that I'm getting tomorrow is with an oncologist. And so I will be, maybe I'll let you know about that and what's happening. Gallbladder issues, and decided not to go through with surgery due to conflicting answers. Oh my gosh. So are you better now, or do you still have the gallbladder issues, Sandy? Sandy and I went to high school together. That's so cool to have her on here. No problem. Well, it's kind of self, what's the word? Not gratifying. What's the other word? Self-serving. That I'm glad that I have this option. I have tons of friends all over the world, Australia to Europe, and across the United States and Canada and South America that join me. And I figured there's got to be somebody that has some other things that they can bring up, or ideas that I haven't thought of yet. But the first thing, of course, was I need more opinions, because the guy that I was talking to was the one that nearly killed me twice, and he's definitely not doing anything anymore on me, and I'm not sure that his opinion counts as one of the opinions I need to be looking at, only because my history with him is bad. Now, everybody says, oh, he's a fine doctor, he's been doing a fine job. But with me, my experience with him has not been a good one. So you don't go to that person that you had bad experience with and expect to get, feel comfortable with whatever they're saying. He could be right? He could be right. And no matter what he's saying, but my experience is not that. So if anybody watching this now or the recording know of any other options that it may have, yeah, definitely not going back to him. And he's a super nice guy, right? A super nice guy. Just nearly killed me twice. And the emergency rooms, are to blame too. Both the emergency rooms left me hanging, and so to speak, in in difficult situations. Precarious. Is that the word? Situations where they left me, alone, right? I tried to tell them, I got to go. It's coming out. It's going to come out. And here I am in one of your rooms, and it's going to be a mess. I'm telling you, it was a lot of blood. I have pictures, if anybody ever really wants to see them, of the amount of blood that was coming out of me. And they were trying to tell me, well, when it mixes with the water, it looks like it's more blood. No, it was chunks of blood, coagulated blood, and dark red filling the toilet up with blood. And then when I, fell on the ground, that was all over the floor. I was laying in like a crime scene of a stabbing, right? And I've seen it hundreds of times as a 21-year law enforcement officer, hundreds of times of people being shot, stabbed, and other things. And so I knew what was going on, and they didn't believe me. And so they left me alone thinking, it's not this big of a deal. And both times nearly died. So I love these guys, the folks coming on Twitter. Ray, I was looking at that too. And I think that the City of Hope here in Riverside, I think they are, or something like that, or San Bernardino, has that radioactive pellet treatment. Kaiser does not, as far as I know. At least that was not one of the things that was offered to me. Wants to compromise. Thank you. I wish I would have thought. You have really good words, William. I need to hang out with you more often because you use words that I have to look up. Right. I don't want that either. Again, the thing is, if I thought that if the surgery, getting rid of it would just, I could get rid of it, I would do that. The problem is the other things, right? The complications and the side effects of making that decision are far too huge for me. Yes. Thank you, Christina. And Christina, I know your story with your sister and all that you probably, this, speaks to you. And I really appreciate you being on and listening and giving me some feedback. I really appreciate it very much. Yeah, me either, especially the second time. I went to San Francisco right after I got out of the hospital. I had to go there for work to testify in a court case. And I was walking up one of the hills and I nearly passed out. And that's when I didn't know I was anemic. But I immediately got on a plane after I got done walking up the hill and nearly passing out. And, was super dizzy. And I fly home. I go right to the emergency room again. And I said, I don't know what's going on, but I can't walk without getting dizzy. And they tested my blood and I was anemic. I can tell you more stories. The second time in the South Orange County, San Diego, Kaiser, horrible. Never go there. South Orange County, a fairly new Kaiser Permanente, and I thought they would be way more. First, they don't have a key to get in the emergency room, restroom. They didn't have a key, right? They had to pry it open with a some type of bar tool and get it open. They have a key for the emergency room bathroom. It's stupid. I just think about it over and over. I was like, what? And thank God Andy was there because he kind of helped me negotiate because I was so out of it. He had to, do you feel comfortable? What do you need? They're asking you a question. Do you understand? Like he was there, my interpreter, because I was so out of it. And literally after they took me out of this is another story. And he was like shocked. And I was shocked, but I couldn't voice my shockedness, is that I had two doctors, one on this side, one on this side. And they were arguing about how much blood to give me because I had lost so much blood. They thought, well, let's give him 2 pints or something, 3 pints. And the other doctor goes, you can't give him. How do you know? You don't know how much he needs. If you give him too much, he'll go into some type of shock. I'm not sure about all the argument, but this doctor said, you can't do that. He goes, well, no, I think we need to give him more because he needs that more. He goes, well, we'll just give it to him anyway. And he goes, but you can't do that. And these doctors are arguing back and forth. And I think one of them like threw down something and says, you're not listening to me. Like he was so pissed. Whichever doctor was pissed at the other one. And Andy's like going, listen, how about just giving him 1 for now? And this is, Andy's not a doctor. He's an author and helps people write books, right? And he says, how about just giving him 1, seeing how he responds, and then giving him more if needed. And the doctor goes, exactly. The other doctor goes, yes, that's what we need to do. And I remember that conversation happening, but they were literally yelling at each other, arguing about how much blood they were giving me because they knew I needed blood because I had lost so much blood. In total, right? Not only on the floor of the bathroom, but leading up to that particular point. They had no idea how much blood I lost, at the yard house. that one of the things I thought about would have been kind of funny, but maybe not funny, is that after I left all that blood in the restroom, a ton of it, right, in the toilet, I was thinking maybe I should leave that in there and see when somebody goes in there, like, oh my God, there's a, when they're looking for a dead body, and kind of see if they, called the police and, hey, we have a crime scene. But I didn't do that. I did think about it for a second. So there you go. That's my story. Oh, somebody's watching on YouTube too. Thank you very much. So I got people watching on YouTube, people watching on Twitter and on Periscope. There is also nerve-sparing radical prostatectomy. I had that. Everything still works. Oh, all right. Well, maybe I'll take some of this information with me tomorrow to the oncologist and see what those options are. And that's kind of the reason why I did this before my consultation tomorrow, is because I just wanted to have a little bit more information, to be a little bit more educated, and ask, are these options available? Are the pellets available? Is there a scan that can be done? What about this this nerve-sparing radical prostatectomy? Is that something that's, that we can consider? So these are some of the things I need. So again, if you're watching live, please, if you know anything that I shouldn't be taking in to talk to this oncologist about, please put it in there. If you're watching the recording of this or the replay, that would be awesome too, because I'm going to do a watch party after this so that more people can watch this. So that is my story. And I do, again, appreciate all of you coming on, and had quite a few people on there at one point. Have 10, down to 10, maybe more people watching right now, but I appreciate it. Valerie, I will look at your text and respond. And so that's my story. And it's a crazy one, I know. But yeah, hopefully I've, explained that, if it means the difference between being alive and dead, of course I'm going to, choose surgery and have it taken out. But I'm not convinced that it's something I need to do based on what I've been told up to this point, right? At a level 9 PSA, that was so small that he told me that, he goes, you're never going to have to worry about this cancer. That was the words that he said to me, that you have so little, it's likely that you're going to die of something else. This is not something that you're going to die from. And so that was the very last one, which was more extensive and prior to it going up. And again, it's only gone up. Well, I guess only is not the right word, but it's gone up to a 10. And so, is that enough to just simply, on blind faith, go in there and have it removed, and hopefully, be able to function, sexually or and urinate properly and all the things that, need to happen? Do I take a chance? I'm not convinced that I need to take that chance yet, but that's where I'm at. So transfusions are always a risk. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you should have heard these doctors arguing back and forth. It was, if I could have said anything, I was so mumbling just because I had lost so much blood and was kind of out of it. And they'd also given me some other medication, I'm sure, that was causing me to be a little delirious. I just was like, do you seriously, two doctors are, I've never had, never heard that happening before, over me. Like, I was, and I'm going, hey, I'm still here. I can hear everything you're saying. And thank you very much for the well wishes and all that kind of stuff. So again, thank you for watching. If you have any ideas, if you have any comments, if you have any suggestions, I really would appreciate that very much. And I will keep you abreast as to what I've decided to do and what I'm doing and all that kind of stuff. Just again, I share my story. Other people may learn from this, and it may be helpful to somebody in the near future. All right, that is it for me. I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.